Last month it was revealed that Russell T Davies' former partner in crime Phil Collinson will also be returning to Doctor Who as production begins on its 14th series. It's turning out to be quite the comeback tour. Collinson's involvement has predictably led to speculation over what other elements RTD2's era will bring. In the past 4 years, Davies has written about the MP Jeremy Thorpe and his plot to have his lover killed, charted the rise of fascism in a dystopian future UK, documented the AIDS pandemic in the 1980s, and has recently written a biopic of soap actor Noel Gordon. That's a varied and diverse list of credits. Whatever he's bringing to Doctor Who, it's going to be something brand new. With that in mind then, I'm Ellie with Who Culture, and let's take a look at 9 things RTD's return won't bring to Doctor Who. Number 9. David Tennant full-time. According to a credible BBC source, David Tennant has been cast as the 14th Doctor, making him the first actor to play 2 incarnations of the character. Except he already is, isn't he? According to Time of the Doctor, between the opening of Journey's End and the closing moments of The End of Time Part 2, David Tennant is playing the 11th Doctor regenerated with the same face. The rumour was circulated by that 100% reliable source of political, epidemic and vaccination information, Facebook, so it is likely bogus. If we must see a multi-Doctor story for the 60th anniversary, then David Tennant will be a shoo-in for a return. He doesn't miss an opportunity these days. But as the 14th Doctor, the perception of the show in certain quarters is that it's too inward-looking, too obsessed with the past. Bringing back a former Doctor would not only play into this, but it would make the damaging suggestion that the show's best days are behind it, and what we really want is the golden age back again. Number 8. Toning down the politics. Doctor Who's too political, they cry. It's too woke. The political messaging is too on the nose. I don't have the breath to cover all the political elements of the show's past. But let's just look at some of Russell T Davies' previous work. World War III has villainous aliens engineer a war from inside Downing Street to get their hands on precious minerals whilst talking of weapons of mass destruction. His most recent work, It's a Sin, resonated so strongly last year, reframing the AIDS crisis as what it was, a pandemic that killed too many young people due to the government and societal indifference. Whilst it might be a little more nuanced than some of the episodes in Chibnall's era, the RTD2 era will not shy away from using Doctor Who to reflect on some of the issues that affect us today. It's arguably what the show has done right from the beginning. The political subtext is going nowhere with Russell T Davies at the helm. It will be interesting though to see what issues the new series will tackle. The long game already tackled fake news, whilst the Sontaran stratagem dealt with smart speakers. Whatever they are though, he is not short of material in the current climate. Number 7. The NYSSA Adventures. When Russell T Davies was announced as returning to Doctor Who, some fans highlighted a recent interview where he pointed to the Marvel and Star Wars cinematic universe as fertile territory for the show to explore, talking of a limited series for the 10th and 11th Doctors and the NYSSA Adventures. It's probably best to take everything with a pinch of salt. Whilst rumours have begun to emerge of an anthology series featuring past Doctor Who characters, it's likely that we won't be seeing many classic series companions. To be polite, modern television is a lot more realistic and less stagey than it was during the original run, and a lot of those actors haven't done much contemporary work. If there are to be spin-offs, which is highly likely, they won't be focusing on characters last seen 40 years previously. If anything, they'll spin off from elements of the mythology. Look at the success of The Mandalorian compared to the ambivalent response to the Book of Boba Fett. We're more likely to see a time agency series rather than the continuing adventures of Nyssa of Traken. Hell, even the Vinda, Bell and Tigme show is a more likely proposition. Number 6. Torchwood. Speaking of spin-offs, some people hoped that Russell T Davies' return might herald the return of everyone's favourite sci-fi shagfest, Torchwood. It won't. The series went off air back in 2011 after the deeply flawed and overlong transatlantic co-production Miracle Day. Despite a cliffhanger ending, no one wanted another outing for the team. It's coming up for 11 years since Torchwood was last on TV, and it was never a massive hit. Children of Earth was certainly the high point, but it doesn't live long in the popular imagination. 11 years is a long time for something to be off air, especially in this content-heavy decade. Sure, The X-Files made a comeback after 18 years, but that show was massive in its day. Torchwood just doesn't have the cultural cash or nostalgic appeal. And that's before we even get to the elephant in the room that is John Barrowman's inappropriate on-set behaviour. When it resurfaced in the wake of the Noel Clarke allegations, Barrowman initially played ball, making apologetic statements and staying out of the limelight. For many fans though, he is still a persona non grata, which would prove to be a massive hurdle for any potential comeback to overcome. Number 5. The same old format. By David Tennant's third series, the rigid format of the RTD years was beginning to feel staid. Present day, past adventure, alien planet, space, celebrity historical. Both Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall have experimented with moving the format on from this, but have both fallen back on it as a reliable template. Will Russell T Davies do the same? It remains to be seen, and we haven't even seen his first episode yet. However, on launching a new series, he'll be looking to do something fresh. Possible 14th Doctor and actor in both Years and Years and It's a Sin, Lydia West has said she thinks Russell will bring a modern twist to the series. It's what he did when he brought it back in 2005, and a lot has changed in the interim 17 years. Whatever this modern twist is, it's not going to be the same format that he perfected in his first era. Number 4. The same old writers. Just because Russell is back, it doesn't mean that the same team of writers will be back too. Gareth Roberts has already asserted that he has no interest in returning to Doctor Who or the BBC, even if he was asked, which he likely wouldn't be. But what about the other writers? Stephen Moffat has 2 or 3 projects currently in development, and his departure still feels relatively recent. Similarly, the prolific Mark Gatiss stated his belief that Empress of Mars would likely be the last Doctor Who story he'd write. If he was to ever come back, it feels more likely that it would be as a showrunner. So who will be writing on the new series? Perhaps a clue lies in the BBC Director of Drama Piers Wenger's assertion that Russell will build on the extraordinary achievements of the Chibnall era. Will he keep on some of the great writers we've had over the past few years, like Vinay Patel, Joy Wilkinson or Maxine Alderton? Perhaps he'll be shepherding a new generation of writers who grew up with the show, or nurturing new talent like he did in his series Banana, which featured episodes by End of the Effing World writer Charlie Cavell. Number 3. A white male doctor of a certain age. Some of the more vocal members of the Not My Doctor Brigade were quick to praise the return of RTD as something akin to the second coming of Jesus Christ. He was back to save the show from the perceived sins of the Chibnall era, except he's not. If anything, he's going to continue in striving forwards. The likelihood is that we'll have another female doctor, as we should. Such a seismic change requires sticking to your guns. If Jodie Whittaker regenerates into a man, it'll set back a lot of the work she's done to cement the idea in the public imagination. If she regenerates into someone like Lydia West, it's no big deal, and we can finally move on from the female doctor debate. If Russell T Davies does cast a man though, you can be sure that we won't be seeing a white male doctor of a certain age. It's one of the many reasons that Omari Douglas is a more viable option for the 14th Doctor than their It's a Sin co-star Ollie Alexander. Number 2. The retconning of the Timeless Child. Those furious fans who were outraged that the Doctor had the temerity to have a life prior to being actor William Hartnell are hopeful that the RTD2 era will retcon the last 5 years of mythology. Most notably, the reveal that the Doctor isn't actually a Gallifreyan but is instead a creature from another world in another universe. As the man who blew up Gallifrey in a time war to add some mystery to the character, is it likely that Russell T Davies will miss the opportunity to build on this new enigma? It all depends on what happens with Jodie Whittaker's final 2 stories, of course, but the Timeless Child will not be retconned. If anything, RTD will double down on it, pushing the show in new and interesting directions. The Doctor as an orphan without a past is as intriguing a protagonist as the damaged survivor of an intergalactic time war. The only way the Timeless Child would be forgotten about is so it can be put on the back burner as we get to know the Doctor's new companion. Rest assured though, it will always be there. Number 1. 14 episodes a year. BBC funding has been frozen and the television landscape has changed considerably in the 12 years since Russell first left. It's just not feasible for a show like Doctor Who to churn out 13 episodes and a Christmas special every year, especially if you want to compete in a crowded sci-fi marketplace. The budgets just won't stretch that far. The fact that the show is now a co-production with Bad Wolf may help with the budgetary issues, but it still doesn't seem like a feasible option to essentially make 14 feature films a year. So what's the alternative? The answer may lie in Jodie Whittaker's troubled final series. Presumably Flux and the subsequent specials were originally envisioned as a 10-part series, but due to COVID, lockdowns and other obstacles, it was restructured. This model of a 6-part miniseries followed by 3 specials, then rinse and repeat, might be the best way forward for the series. It can ensure that the effects work can finally match the ambition of the scripts. We saw proof of that in Flux. By turning Doctor Who into an event series, it can reflect the model of similar shows and hopefully reinvigorate it for a new audience. And that concludes our list. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're there, like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Don't forget to head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.